The Print Off the Cuff. Experience partner, The Quorum. Associate partner, Global PR Connect.
So a very special pleasure to welcome you to this edition of Off the Cuff with this brilliant guest. Brilliant, so brilliant that he's now in India on his fourth posting. Denis Alipov, Ambassador for Russia, and Snehesh Alex Philip, Editor for Foreign Affairs and Defense at ThePrint. Now, let me tell you one basic fact. And this is something that's come out in multiple polls. And that is something that Mr. Modi also said in Russia. He said, and it's true, that if you just hold a straw poll anywhere in India, in any part of India, you can go to any region of India and say, which is the country that's the most trusted, the most liked, and the country most worthy of India's affection for India, which is the most trusted friend of India. About 90% say it's Russia. Right? About 90% say it's Russia. That's the truth. And that's why it's even more the pity that we are not talking more often, that we should have had many such conversations in the past, but you have to begin at some point of time. So, Ambassador, thank you very much. I'm grateful that you found the time.
Thank you very much, dear Shekhar ji, for and ThePrint, the whole of the team for this invitation. It's a pleasure to be amongst you and to share our views and perspectives on whatever questions there may be, what are the perspectives of our bilateral relations and the international developments at large. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here tonight.
Thank you. And I should have mentioned that he speaks Hindi as anybody from the heartland, right? So, संभाल के भी रखेगा.
हिंदी तो पूरी आती थी,
हाँ.
लिखना पढ़ना सब कुछ, लेकिन जब आप भाषा अक्सर नहीं बोलते, नहीं भाषा का इस्तेमाल नहीं करते, तो फ्लुएंसी भूल जाती है.
वो वापस आ जाएगी.
But he understands everything in Hindi.
He understands everything. No, he also speaks well.
कुत्ता जैसी सब कुछ समझना.
So let me get you started. Where do you position Russia in the world today? And when I say the world today, this world, in a way, the current state of the world began in November 2024, second week November 2024, with the US election results.
Well, we are now, I think there is no contradiction wherever in the world, no other opinion about the general trend that we are now witnessing, the trend towards the formation of a multipolar world. This is something we stress in our foreign policy, accentuated, something we promote. This is the same India promotes. We are on the same wavelength on that. Not only us two, but many others, the BRICS members, SCO member countries, the Global South in general. This is the major trend that we witness, and something that should result in a much more stronger, much more decisive voice of the developing world, of countries like India and China and Russia and many other in the African countries, Latin American countries. Much stronger voice of this community in the global rules making. And I believe that this process is a very turbulent one, no doubt about it, but it should, there is no alternative to it. We see the rise of India as a global powerhouse, economic power. We see a new China, a global power that it is. We want to be amongst amongst these powers ourselves, and I think we have all the legitimacy and the rights to be at the table where the global rules are formulated. This is what we see now as the major global trend, and I believe that is going to happen eventually. And the US, Europe are also amongst those who are at the table and will be at the table, but it should be an equal, a respectable dialogue between all the countries with an equal voice of each and every at this table of rulemaking.
So, is Russia stronger since the return of Trump, or weaker?
We pursue our own foreign policy. We defend our legitimate interests, national interests in global affairs. We will continue to do that. Whether we are weaker at some point of time or stronger, this will not change. Our voice will be promoted, our interests will be promoted by us in any circumstances. With the Trump administration in power now, I think we have a much more genuine, so to say, genuine approach towards the US-Russia relationship. Contrary to the Biden administration, it seems now the Americans are prepared not only to listen to us, but also to hear. We see the attempts to accommodate the interests of Russia, legitimate interests of Russia in European affairs, be it security or trade or whatever, to accommodate our interests in our immediate neighborhood, in a broader scope. But as India sees, and many the world sees, there is not much consistency in US policy. Today, Trump himself or members of his administration may say one thing, tomorrow they start to say another thing. So this inconsistency is a disturbing factor. but generally, we feel that there is much more understanding on the part of the US towards Russia and towards Russian interests and policy. We are committed to the dialogue with the US, be it on Ukraine or on our bilateral affairs or global matters. It is going at an uneven pace, but at least we see the intention to continue with this interaction, which we didn't have with Biden in power. It was disrupted to a nil. So this is a positive development with Trump in power. But I will certainly not predict anything and speculate about how we manage in future. But at least we try at the moment.
Yeah. So before I let Snehesh take over, what you're saying is that there is greater clarity now in Trump administration and less hypocrisy than there was under Biden. Or maybe Biden era's maximalist positions don't exist anymore. Is that what you're saying? Because Biden era's maximalist position was that Russia must be defeated in the battlefield.
I think the US remains very maximalist.
Still.
Remains very maximalist, very America-centric. You know, America matters in the first place. Everything else is secondary. But Trump and his people are trying to engage. At least we feel that. It is an inconsistent process, I repeat, but there is readiness to speak, to have a dialogue, to listen to each other. Something something that was non-existent during Biden. That started with Obama, and you know, I mean, the lack of you know, dialogue and the lack of desire to understand and to listen, which you know, aggravated with Biden. But now we see that the current administration is prepared. And there is, if we take Ukraine issue for example, is prepared to find genuinely prepared to find a peaceful solution to the conflict. This is also very important. The Europeans, they do the opposite.
So in a way, you are happy that it's the Trump administration and not the Biden administration. You seem to be the only country in the world who's happy with Trump right now.
No, we don't have the tariff issue. We have the sanctions issue.
Yeah.
But again, this mechanism has exhausted itself long ago. We're under 30,000 plus sanctions currently. The packages the Europeans introduce, those sanctions the Americans you know, impose from time to time. Currently, these efforts are just adjustments to what had been introduced already. Had been introduced before, and adjustments, some corrections, nothing new in that. And I think this experience has shown that this mechanism is not working. It will not change our policy. It will not deter us from defending our national interests. Will not deter us from defending what we consider existential for us, of existential importance for us, and will be detrimental eventually to those who introduce these measures. And the same with tariffs, I believe. There are different assessments by economists who suffer more from the tariffs the US has introduced. The US itself, or those countries against which the tariffs were introduced. So it is a what they call the double-edged sword.
Double-edged sword.
Those punitive economic measures.
Russia doesn't have a tariff problem, but Russia's friends have a tariff problem, particularly sitting here.
Before I wanted to ask you the question, but we'll have the gentleman here. He's raised his hand. Please give the mic to him. So please identify
And then
yourself.
the mic there after that.
Yeah.
My name is Arun Bharatram. My question perhaps is one that you have been asked many times. India has been, is a country of 1.4 billion people, and we have been aspiring to be a member of the Permanent Council of the United Nations. Russia has always supported us. Is there something that Russia can do, because you have a pretty good relationship with China, to push for our admittance into the permanent seat in the UN?
We not only have the capacity, we already do that. We have been, I think, the strongest advocate of India's permanent membership in the UN Security Council. We maintain that the reform process should have the largest possible support amongst the UN member countries, but there is no doubt, and we have strongly supported for years the Indian permanent membership. This will eventually happen. I have no doubt about that. What we do not support is the the package solution to the expanded Security Council. India goes along with, as you know, 3 other countries currently aspiring for the permanent membership. 2 of that group are not acceptable to us. But India and Brazil are other countries that not only have the legitimate right, not only the capacity, but it is a necessity for the Security Council itself, for the UN and the international community, that these countries sit at this decision-making table and body, that involves the international community, the whole of international community. This is the largest international organization which we should promote it and strengthen it and support it. reform is needed. And this reform presupposes Indian permanent membership, 100%.
Which are the two countries that are not acceptable to Russia? You said two are not acceptable.
Germany and Japan.
Germany and
Germany
Japan.
and Japan. Well, Germany is not in the, is not in the group of India level.
Right.
Besides, its voice is obviously not an independent one in international affairs. There's no point of having Germany. There are already the US, Britain, France at that table. Germany will not bring anything to it, at least not anything positive. Similar about Japan. This is our approach and our understanding and attitude.
Okay. We'll have the question
A
there.
question there. Sir, introduce yourself so our cameras record you.
Hello. I'm also an Arun Duggal. Your Excellency, I have two questions for you, short ones. पहला सवाल ये कि आपकी कोई राज कपूर मूवी फेवरेट है, कोई देखी है? और दूसरा सवाल, second thing we were talking about international organizations. I wanted to talk about BRICS. 10 members, no headquarters. What do you think is New Delhi for headquarters for BRICS?
तो पहली सवाल का जवाब दे दूं। आवारा हूँ और जिसमें ये संगीत सिर पे लाल टोपी रूसी पे भी दिल है हिंदुस्तानी, इस मूवी से नहीं। This movie was very much popular in the former Soviet Union in the 1950s. Everybody watched it and knew and sang the song. Those were the golden years of Soviet-Indian friendship. And responding to your second question, this is, I think, a very good suggestion for the future. Currently, as you know, there is no secretariat as a whole, right? BRICS is not an organization. It is an informal grouping of countries that at the same time is becoming more and more influential and attractive to a wider international community. The group expanded last year. There are more aspirants to enter the group. I think eventually it may become an organization, but again, I will not make any projections. There are no such intentions at the moment within the member, so to say, member countries. But we'll see. It may become an organization one day. The attractiveness is based on the consensus we have, the free and open discussion we have within, and the accommodation of each other's interests. If there is no agreement on some issues, we just put it aside and do not, make it an issue amongst us.
Ambassador, before I come to you, ma'am, I just want to ask you something. Since we talked about sanctions, India and Russia have had a historic relationship, primarily driven by, the cooperation in defense sector and in the nuclear space, right? Of late, everything has been about the oil business, and India is now facing more sanctions because of its trade relations. But now the latest American sanctions come into place from the American, the European ones come in from the 21st of November, which could see either literally zero oil business with Russia, between India and Russia, or a very negligible amount. So how do you see this relationship, India-Russia relationship, going forward from here, right? Because oil is going to be taken off the table. At least that's what I believe so.
And will it happen like that?
Will it happen or not? I don't know. This is not a question to me, certainly. And I would not be so sure about India, stopping importing Russian oil. But this is not the point. Our relations are not based on oil exports.
Transactions.
Transactions, yeah.
It's not transactional. We have a much broader foundation between us. The legacy we have, but the glorious legacy, but we look into the future and we build our relationship in politics or economy, in people-to-people contacts with the perspectives we see. We have a very robust relationship in nuclear energy, nuclear power plants construction. We have a very robust, despite all the negative reports I regularly see, we have a very robust defense relationship with very bright perspectives in this area. People-to-people contacts are expanding with the new educational policy in this country. We are expanding in education. See the examples the British show here. We move on the same track. There is much in the pipeline in terms of agreements and arrangements between us in education, in science and research. Artificial intelligence is not only developing in the Western world. There are very noticeable and substantial results India has. We move in Russia. We move on the same track. Quantum technologies, computing, space. In all these areas, we have very substantial plans between us in our bilateral engagement. But on oil, I think we have something like from 8 to 12% of share of global oil production. If you remove this share, from the
global markets,
overall scene, global market, the markets will become unsustainable. So this will not happen in any case. India, if it stops buying oil from us, making profit from those discounts we offer, somebody else will do that and will benefit. So the Russian oil will stay in any case in the market. If it is not India, then somebody else. This is up to you to decide. India is buying oil not for the sake of Russia or our buying Russian oil not for the sake of us. You're buying it for the sake of yourselves.
Well, that's a good point.
It's very erroneous and deplorable to say that India supports Russia so that we have the money to continue in Ukraine. This is absolutely wrong.
Yes, absolutely, because at one point, it's the Europeans and the Americans who wanted Russian oil to be purchased to keep oil markets controlled. Also, since we talked of defense, also Snehesh knows better. That's a good metaphor for India-Russia relationship. If you just go back to Operation Sindoor, see the things that worked in Operation Sindoor. S-400, Russia, right? The Sukhoi 30 and BrahMos missile, Russia. So the key things that delivered were either Russian origin or Russian partnership. So Sukhoi 30s, most of them made in India, but Russian imported from Russia and assembled in India. BrahMos, joint venture in India, and S-400 from Russia. So those the three things that really tipped the balance were all of Russian origin or with a Russian connection. That said, a question from there, sir.
Thank you, Your Excellency. My name is Ashwini. Shekhar, I want to just take a segue from the question that you mentioned because you talked about Operation Sindoor. Ambassador, the two leaders of China and Pakistan and Russia talked about the infinite, no limits friendship, and we have a forever friendship with Russia. So there's a love triangle. We love Russia, Russia loves China, but China doesn't love India. And to use a Hindi phrase, there's a bone in this lovely kebab called Pakistan. So how do you see this conundrum being balanced in terms of the diplomacy between China, India, and Pakistan? And how does Russia sort of play and see its friendship with India? Thank you.
Frankly, I don't see much of Pakistan in this picture, but the triangle, the Russia-India-China triangle, is a very, potentially, is the, not only very powerful, but I would put it like a decisive would-be source in world politics. If we only come, together and have a coordinated international policy, something we tried to do before COVID. Since 1990s, we have had the triangular mechanism, which was quite effective with regular meetings at the level of foreign ministers and at the lower level. And once or twice, I think, there was a top-level meeting in this Russia, India, China format. And we are, in Russia, we are very keen to revive it. We understand, of course, all the circumstances of India-Chinese relations, the difficulties, the complexity. But our approach and attitude is that if we have the regular triangular interaction between us, it will certainly help to create and to promote and to develop the atmosphere of trust and understanding between India and China. Something we enjoy between us and something we have between Russia and China. After all, before our meeting, we spoke briefly over there in corridor, and I was saying that Oh, no, we were sitting already here on the sofa, and I was saying to Shekhar that there are two major powers in the world with uninterrupted civilizational, lineage, legacy, and tradition. Those two powers are China and India. There is no, great Rome any longer. Italy is not ancient Rome. There is no ancient,
Greece.
The modern Greece is nowhere comparing to ancient Greece. Egypt also maybe not a very good example, but India and China have this uninterrupted civilizational tradition. I think eventually you will come together with the Chinese and have this, strongest voice in global politics. Something that would be very positive and beneficial for the international community.
Okay. Oh, we'll have Meenakshi. Yeah.
Meenakshi,
Good evening, everyone. I'm Meenakshi Lekhi, and my question to Honorable Ambassador is that, we've talked about civilization, history, past, which always colors our present. So from your mouth, I want to hear how many Russians died in World War II for the sake of Europe and rest of the world against expansionist policy of Nazis, and what happened in between Europe and Russia as we see the present today.
go ahead.
This can be shifted to World War I now also, 1, 2, and later.
It's a great pleasure to see you tonight, Meenakshi ji. This year we have marked, celebrate the 80th anniversary of the World War II victory. This day, May 9th, is the most important in our calendar, even more important than our national day. 27 million perished, of Soviet citizens perished, not only Russians, so Soviet citizens, Russians, Ukrainians, Central Asians, so many for the very simple, objective to oppose and to defend ourselves and to oppose the extermination we faced. We had faced at that time. And we won, and not only us were the victors in that war. Many of the Europeans opposed the Nazis. The US supported a great deal. The anti-Nazi coalition was, the decisive factor in the victory in that the major global conflict. But after, there was this ideological rift again. That was put forward by the US and the Europeans who were the victors in that war. I would like to remind you that shortly after the Second World War, NATO was created. that was initially intended, and this is the purpose, this purpose remains with that organization, to deter Soviet Union. And only after NATO creation, the Warsaw Pact was, initiated by the Soviet Union and included some of the Eastern European countries in that bloc. So there was this rivalry. Well, since then, there is no Soviet Union any longer, but NATO exists. NATO has expanded, and the purpose, the core goal, and the idea this organization has is to deter Russia, nowadays Russia. Something very obvious to everybody and very simple. And when Europeans say that Russia threatens Europe and NATO is there to, save Europe from that threat, I think this is something not only a twisting of factual information, but something very sinister, in promoting, in international discourse. It is the opposite. We are threatened by NATO. We have never threatened Europe. Now they very loudly keep saying that the next thing Russia will do is to come with war to Europe.
Well, they say the Baltics and Moldova.
Yeah, starting with Baltics, starting with Moldova. This rhetoric should be rejected very forcefully and fiercely, not only by us, but others who should understand that this is a determined attempt to, justify, or I don't know, to explain the, to make up for those many mistakes the Europeans themselves have made.
Well, sorry, did I interrupt you?
No.
So does, what justifies the war in Ukraine? How, from Russian point of view, what necessitated it?
And when can it stop?
No, you think of it, another one.
Ukraine has been made a playground of NATO, of the US, against Russia. It's not so much about Ukraine. It's about the intentions of the Westerners against us. They sometimes even don't conceal those intentions. NATO expansion. There have been 5 waves of NATO expansion. And I repeat again, NATO is an existential threat to Russia. Existential not only in terms of our national security, but in terms of Russia as an entity. Russia is very diverse, and the idea is to, this idea, by the way, has been in the minds of the British for centuries. The idea is to have Russia disintegrated.
To sort of mixing metaphors to balkanize Russia.
Sometimes it is not even concealed and revealed very openly to our utter astonishment. And Ukraine is a core lever to do that. The coup that happened in 2014, it was a very obvious coup, no matter what others say. There was a legitimate president in place. It was thrown overnight, despite the guarantees given by Germany, by France. And then there have been years of assaults by the new illegitimate government in Kiev against the eastern parts. They still, I mean, the people in power in Kiev, they still keep saying that that the land is ours, but the people inhabiting those areas, not only the Russian-speaking, the Russian origin-speaking, they may leave for Russia, but we will keep the land. It doesn't work like that. This land is where these people live. It's their land. You can't just remove the people from their land. Those species, Zelensky used to say, may go, but we will retain the land. It doesn't work like that. And we came in support of those people since 2014. All along, continuing to impress upon the Europeans, the US, the new authorities in Kyiv, to impress that, look, we should sit and talk and have a peaceful solution to the contradictions and the problems and the various conflicting situations in the eastern part of Ukraine peacefully at the table. All the time, all those attempts have been rejected. I will remind you that in 2007, the Munich conference, Putin spoke about the threats to our national security. Nobody listened then. It was, his speech was met with, I don't know, some suspicion, with some laughter, and dismissed, basically. And since then, there have been many attempts by us and approaches to the Westerners about, on issues of NATO expansion, our threats that we feel in Russia, the threats from that expansion, the threats of their actions in Ukraine that we feel. Nobody listened. And when we started to act, suddenly there was great attention. Well, currently, the Europeans, not so much the US. I think Trump understands that this war is lost by Ukraine and the West. But the Europeans continue with their belligerence and with this, belief of theirs that there is a chance to have an upper hand in this conflict. There is no chance. You can't, take over us in this conflict simply because of nuclear weapons.
Simply because of your nuclear weapons.
Simply because of our nuclear weapons. We have in our doctrine that if there is existential threat to us, there is a possibility of this use. And knowing that, Europeans still insist that there should be military actions. The war should go until Russia is defeated. This is not only the revelation of their craziness, but also an indication of how unprofessional, how childish they behave.
So
this is the major stumbling block, the major problem now we have on the way to a peaceful solution, the European position.
So, Ambassador, when you started this, we call it the war, the Russians call it the special operation. So what is it for you now, in the sense that what is at stake? What would satisfy you now to end this war? When can this war end, and what is your objective now? What's the goal there?
It has never been about land, by the way. It has always been about the protection of the people who live in the eastern parts of Ukraine. I repeat, those
Russian-speaking people.
But not only Russian-speaking, Russian origin people, Ukrainian citizens of Russian origin. They were Ukrainian citizens, now they're Russian citizens. But we never put the land issue forward in this whole context. We have always spoken about the protection of the legitimate human rights of those people, which were abused by Ukraine, by people's own government in Kyiv. This is one thing. NATO is another. Now comes, in the current circumstances, comes the land issue also. So those parts have been incorporated into the Russian Federation. We have a law. It's a constitutional law. We will not give it away. But had we had a peaceful process started way back in 2022, there were those territories would have been still with Ukraine, not any longer, and Ukraine will lose more and more land if it continues with the conflict, and it seems they are determined to do that at the behest of the Europeans. Those people, are astonishing. I don't know how to put it. They simply disoriented, lacks the strategic vision, and don't understand a very simple thing. Europe will never be secure, which they want, with unsecure Russia as a neighbor, and vice versa. We will never feel secure if Europe feels unsecure. So there is only one way to sit and agree on a mutual, security architecture and solutions. Something, the Organization on Security and Cooperation in Europe tried to promote, and we have always stressed the necessity of that. You may remember, our proposals about common security from Lisbon to Vladivostok. Everything was rejected.
Ma'am, yes.
Thank you. Bex Buckingham, British High Commission. Ambassador, I would just like to sort of firstly point out that when Prime Minister Modi visited Moscow last year, one of the things that he said to President Putin was that war cannot solve problems and that seeing innocent children murdered is pain that is unbearable. I think many people have seen only a few days ago that yet another drone hit a kindergarten in Ukraine, injuring and killing innocent children. How is it justified that a sovereign nation such as Ukraine, who has the existential threat of losing their own homeland, who has continued to fight, how is it that Russia justifies bombing children during this war?
Here comes the British with the children question. A very good question, which I would love to answer. Have any of you heard about the area of angels in Donbass? I believe very few, if at all.
No.
This is a mass grave of children, alley of angels in Donbass, a mass grave of children killed by Ukraine, by Kyiv, who attacked with missiles and aircraft and heavy bombardments prior to 2022. Over the years, they have killed hundreds of children in the eastern parts of Ukraine. Why don't you start with that? Again, over the last week, there have been, I think, 120 or 119 casualties in Russia, including children. One child was killed only during the last week in Russia by the Ukrainians. Why don't you, be objective in all these things? The war is going on. We always maintained, and I specifically stress that, we have never targeted civilian buildings, civilian infrastructure. Have never done that. There are casualties on both sides, unfortunately, children included. But the Ukrainian side has deliberately targeted civilian infrastructure in the border Russian regions bordering Ukraine, in Belgorod, in Rostov region, even deeper in our territory, they do that. They also target military installations. They also target energy infrastructure, but they also, target civilian infrastructure in our territory. We never do that. There is a lot. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
There is a lot of reports have been and still about thousands of Ukrainian children abducted by Russia, taken Ukrainian children taken by Russia.
To be the stories are that
Kidnapped or whatever.
they are going to be indoctrinated. That's the story that's coming out. Adoption or indoctrination? No, but after indoctrination. Yes.
This is again completely wrong. This is not the case.
I'm telling you the story, so you have
Ukrainians are speaking about tens of thousands of such children. We have requested them. Give us the list. Give us at least something, the names and the details about these children. These children. They gave us about how many? You must know better. 119 or something. And we have taken all those cases. And those children were actually saved from, what is it, the boarding houses, orphanages, taken temporarily so that they do not perish in the fighting. And now they are returning.
Please introduce yourself.
The disinformation, the propaganda is outrageous against us.
I'm Nipun Sani. Thanks for an insightful evening, and Ambassador, thanks for coming to Gurugram all the way in the middle of traffic jams, maybe when you came here. Now that Russia is in such an advantageous position, maybe, with Donbass, you have full control over that eastern region, which Russia cares more about. Isn't it, how far do you think, what will it take to create a solution? Or does Russia have plans to keep expanding and take the entire Ukraine? Like, is that the only solution? Or is it the eastern part of Ukraine that you spoke about, that you care about, and that's where the solution will emerge?
If the fighting continues and Europe insists that it should continue, then we will take more land in the east. This is the only eventuality, the only way that we will see. What we have maintained and insisted in our dialogue with the US, but every time Putin meets with Trump, something happens. There was a meeting in Alaska. There was a telephone conversation recently. We seem to have a movement forward, and then Europeans come into picture with Zelensky. And the process of the rhetoric of the US changes. So there is a lot of pressure or whatever. A lot of discussion is going on between the US and Europe after US speaks with Russia. And the process of the progress towards negotiations is stops. Every time there is sort of an understanding between us and the US. There seems to be understanding. The only way to resolve the conflict is by a mutual and peaceful agreement. This is the only way. But if the other side is not ready for it, if it keeps saying that we should we should have Russia strategically defeated. We should continue and go on fighting until Ukraine has an upper hand. If this approach is there, if this position is maintained, then we're prepared to continue, but to continue fighting. But the outcome will only be, as I said, Ukraine losing more land, Ukraine losing more people. Again, forget about nuclear aspect, nuclear weapons aspect. Simply look at the numbers. The manpower Ukraine has is dwindling, and they lose people, they lose men at a much faster pace than we do. Again, contrary to the claims some experts put, just again, I have the numbers in my head. If I remember correctly, October, there was an exchange of bodies between us and Ukraine. Yeah. In October. So there was we have a regular exchange. So in October, 1,000 Ukrainian bodies were exchanged for 31 Russians. In September, 1,000 Ukrainians for 24 Russians. August, 1,000 Ukrainians for 19 Russians. July, 1,000 Ukrainians for 19 Russians. At this pace, and our population is much bigger, if we simply put it like this, we continue until the fighting until the last Ukrainian or until the last Russian, the last Ukrainian will come much faster than the last Russian. But this is not what we want. And again, those ceasefire proposals, we're for it. But ceasefire should not come without a process for the ultimate long-lasting solution. It should not be ceasefire for ceasefire. For a ceasefire, per se. It should go along with the peaceful process and negotiations that will bring the solution, the ultimate solution to the conflict. This is what we stand for. And ceasefire will and then, as Zelensky says, we may think and see and think about the peace process after ceasefire, and it may start or it may not. It will only such a ceasefire will only fail, and for that we do not agree. But with the peace process, of course, this is something we have always called for.
Thank you, Ambassador. Before I just come to you, I just want to ask you this question, and it's something on my mind. In my earlier question, you had responded about the future growth in bilateral ties, in business, in tech and other areas. One of the issues that India is facing with the US is on tariffs, right? What are the tariffs like between India and Russia? Is tariff an issue there?
And the overall quality of trade between India and Russia. Go ahead.
Yeah, the tariff is an issue, and the overall quality, as Shekhar mentioned, the fact that there are very few items that are being traded, high value items, but very few.
Yes, there is a tariff issue. There is also an issue of quality and of quantity. If we put oil aside, so the volumes of our bilateral trade are very low.
Yeah.
Not corresponding to the potential we have, to the potential India has and Russia have in non-energy exports. There are high tariffs against, for Russian products here. In India, we have high tariffs for Indian products, something we have been looking at, as a acknowledged issue. We hopefully will start the negotiations between the Eurasian Economic Union and India in November. The negotiations on the free trade agreement. India is very actively doing that with the Europeans. Well, there are trade talks with the US. Some agreements have or have been already reached between India and other countries. We are moving along the same track, and this is necessary for our bilateral trade, so that we do not have those higher tariffs between us. This will help a lot. Approximate estimates show that the trade will go up once we have the agreement in place. The volumes will increase at the minimum, 30% at the minimum.
30% at the minimum.
At the minimum. And the volumes will also increase. The trade will be more diversified. India has to offer a lot in ready-made products, in industrial products, manufacturing, not only in agriculture, which is currently actually, despite the absence of a free trade agreement, which is flourishing in agriculture. Fertilizers, we are the major suppliers of fertilizers to India. And I think we are the largest of sun oil exporters to the Indian market. India has a great share in Russia, in meat, in marine products, and we're now talking about bananas. So So in agriculture, we're doing more or less well, but we can do a lot more better. And besides agriculture, there's a whole, spectrum of other industries and possibilities and the capacity. Again, the services sector, joint ventures. There are opportunities for joint manufacturing, joint ventures not only in India but in Russia as well. So we, I think, should pay much more attention and create conditions for us to expand in trade and business. And I think the visit of President Putin, which we expect in December, will give great fillip to that process. We are now in intense discussions with the Indian government, also with the business community, with various agencies and actors concerned and involved on a number of arrangements, bilateral arrangements, and agreements. Some of them will materialize, some will on some will continue the discussions, but generally this event will be a major one.
President Putin's visit.
President Putin's visit, the major one, I would put it like that, between us this year, as was the visit of Prime Minister to Russia last year.
So, Ambassador, does these negotiations also involve the Su-57 and more S-400?
You will not provoke me into disclosing sensitive things, but yes, we are in discussion on Su-57. We are in discussion on many other platforms in defense, and on some sensitive issues in other areas apart from defense. So some of them will on some of them we will succeed. On some we will continue discussion. We'll see. We'll see what will be the outcomes.
Perfect. Looking forward to that. We'll toss it back to the audience.
Lovely. Ambassador, thanks a lot for being over here and for such an insightful conversation today. There's two aspects to the question that I'm asking. The first, I'm Surya Khurana, a member at the Quorum over here. There's like India and Russia's history goes way back, and sometimes I have to actually pull out the history books when people ask me why did India abstain at the General Assembly time and again. There are two things which are at play right now. The first is that there are two free trade agreements which are being worked, one with the EU and one with the US. And the second is the sanctions on Russian oil. With both of these things moving in parallel right now, where do you believe that the de-dollarization, which the Eastern Bloc is trying to do, and both Russia and India have tried to do settlements in local currency, is going to see? And is there a likelihood of that happening in the wake of the FTAs being done right now? And also would like to double click on the India-Russia energy relationship as well. Do you foresee that both of these relationships are continue to sustain the FTA and the negotiation which is going to happen? Or do you believe that there is going to be some shift in the diplomacy between these nations?
What do you do, Surya?
I'm a managing director for a European mobility company.
That's okay. Don't say it apologetically. Say it with pride.
No, not apologetically, but not at all. Like, I'm super proud of it, but yeah, have a keen interest in geopolitics.
Yes.
Good evening, Shekhar sir. Good evening, Your Excellency. My question is, I'm just extending Shekhar sir's trade question. We hear a lot of government-to-government trade deals in defense particularly, but we never hear anything between the private sectors. from Russia and India? Any particular reasons, or there any barriers wherein private sector to private sector, nobody works in India or Russia, anything like that?
Good evening, Your Excellency. This has been a very insightful conversation, and as Shekhar pointed out, I'm an economist, so I'll digress a bit from war and foreign policy, and I'm definitely not going to ask questions on tariffs, because I'm sure a lot of discussions have happened around tariffs over the past couple of months. But you did mention sanctions in the beginning, and I was taken back to something that was developed after the Crimea crisis in 2014 as an incentive to reduce vulnerability to sanctions, which was the SPFS system, as an alternative to SWIFT. So my question is, now with Western sanctions accelerating fragmentation of global financial networks and Russia expanding the SPFS system as an alternative to SWIFT, two parts. Does Russia think about sustaining economic sovereignty whilst deepening engagements with countries like India, whose financial architecture is closely interlinked with Western-led systems? And if so, how? That's my question.
What is this acronym you used?
The SPFS system. Global Bank Transfer System. That was Russia's. Yeah.
To get around SWIFT.
Whose system is that?
No, that's a Russian.
A Russian one.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Russian one.
The question is, India and Russia are finding different ways of settling their trade, terms of their trade, and are other countries going to do it?
I will add to that. Not only India has consistently said that it is against the dollarization. We ourselves have consistently said the same thing. We never wanted to abandon the dollar-centric system. It was not our choice. It was the choice of Europe and the US to switch us off. Well, it only stressed for us the necessity to, have the alternatives, to promote the alternatives. We have this system of interbanking information transfer. India has a similar system. We are actually in a dialogue between the financial and regulating authorities on these matters, so that to find ways to have a closer, interaction between the systems, or maybe a convergence between them. This is an ongoing process. We don't have anything between us. But the dialogue has been very open, has been in many ways productive. And if the West continues with this policy of imposing tariffs and new sanctions, and maintaining the attitude that if it continues with these mechanisms as an economic weapon, I think eventually the result will be the emergence of alternative systems globally, not only country-wise, but region-wise and on a global scale. It's like shooting yourself in a leg in a long run.
You cannot have only one system which somebody can switch off. If you have only one system, then nobody should be able to switch off. That's what it is.
Today, Russia is switched off. Tomorrow, it may be somebody else. Now, all these discussions within Europe about confiscating Russian sovereign assets.
Right.
You know, the whole world also is watching. If Europe does that, it will be suicidal consequences for them. In you know.
If they were to seize your sovereign assets, that is 300 billion or whatever talked about here.
No, no wonder the Netherlands, I believe, or the Belgians are opposing these potential steps, because there is this Euroclear in Belgium holds a lot of Russian sovereign assets. Belgium will suffer in the first place, but the detriment, it will be to the detriment of Europe at large and you know, the Western financial system on a whole, as a whole. A very good question about business, private sector connections. You know, despite you know, dealing with India all my life, I don't have a clear answer to that. It is a very peculiar and surprising still that we do not know much in private business, I mean, in the private sector about each other. Russian private business knows very little about India. India knows very, very little about Russia. We have, over the years, you know, initiated many for you know, business events. Have participated in you know, various multilateral events in each other's territories. You know, trying to know more about each other. This is an ongoing process still, but you know, since the times of the Soviet Union, 35 years have passed, and we still know very little about each other. This is something that should be addressed with much more vigor and attention. But it's not a, you know, a like there are no examples between examples of you know, connections between private sector players. We have a very good result achieved recently. Our railways company, Transmesh Holding, won a big tender here in India for the Vande Bharat construction.
Yes.
This is a very good example of
Russian make great trains.
Pardon?
That is against government, he's saying. That is against government manufacturing.
Yeah, well, it's government on the Indian side, but it is a private company on our side. But
Yeah.
there are many smaller contracts, a lot of them. In agriculture, I mentioned. There are many good examples, but I agree with you. This is not a, you know, something we should be you know, content with.
Shailesh, last question, and just add to yours, Keshav will get a question just because he's always the best dressed member of our team. So, Shailesh.
Right. My name is Shailesh Pathak. I work for the National Stock Exchange in Mumbai, and I came specially to listen to you. So, a personal question, nothing to do with your office. You came to India around 30 plus years ago. Over the last 30 years, from your eyes, what has surprised you about India and what has not surprised you about India?
And then Keshav.
Thank you. Very short question, and this is going back to the war, because earlier this month we had an individual who surrendered himself to the Ukrainian armed forces, claiming Indian citizenship. And now ThePrint has reported that the Indian embassy in Moscow has confirmed his existence and his details, right? But Ukraine considers him a prisoner of war, which means that his fate relies on Russia requesting for his return in a prisoner of war exchange. At least that's what the understanding is within the journalist community at this moment. So I wanted to understand, what would Russia be willing to sort of request for his return during the prisoner of war exchanges? And the addendum to that question is, last year Prime Minister Modi and the Indian administration asked for a hard stop for the recruiting of Indians to the Russian army. And this individual claims he was recruited in August to September. So can we get some understanding of how this process has sort of worked out? Thank you.
Yeah, this is a very important topic. I will elaborate on that. But responding to you, Shailesh, India has changed greatly. I first came to India, I was 5 years old in 1975. I will not compare with 1975. So it is a completely different country now. But even a decade ago, it was different. And understand me correctly, I do not want to say anything about the Indian National Congress or the opposition, nothing of the kind. We had we have had a great legacy of, between us when the Congress was in power. But, BJP came to power a decade ago. Modi as a prime minister a decade ago. And since then, there has been drastic changes in many ways. So I would only applaud to that and express hope that this attitude that I see and sense in the Indian society, the attitude towards the idea of making India great again. This, despite the person who is the author of this, the idea is something that is in the air, which I sense and feel and see, and I really admire the achievements, and the major achievement is to infuse this into this attitude into the society, into the broadest society. And there is much enthusiasm amongst Indians for India. And the results are very tangible, very obvious. And I think at such pace, economically, and in many other senses, India is going to become one of the very few powers very fast. This I would like to point out. As regards this is a very big problem that we have now. There were many instances of unscrupulous recruiting agencies offering good earnings, high earnings to the Indians in the service in the Russian army, and some of those who fell for those offers eventually took part in the fighting. Some of them perished in the fighting. There was recently an instance of of an Indian who became prisoner of war on the Ukrainian side. I don't know what is the what the Ukrainians provided to the Indian government on that particular person. I'm not aware of that. I saw in papers and read in papers that the Indian government requested information. Was it provided or not? I don't know. But it is also an instance of Indians, finding their way into the conflict because of those unscrupulous offers by the recruiting agency. And we have, from the very start, stressed that to the Indian government. Russia, the Russian army, do not recruit Indians into the army. If a foreigner comes to a what is it?
Recruitment center.
Recruiting center, and signs the contract voluntarily. Nobody makes him to sign that contract. Then that is, we have such provisions in place for foreign nationals. Then he has this contract with the Russian army, and eventually he may take such a person may take part in the fighting in Ukraine, in the conflict zone. But the Prime Minister, the Indian government had requested us specifically to stop recruiting Indian nationals. And we promised that we will stop that, we would stop that. And since last year, since March this year, we have stopped doing that. What we now still have, so the majority of those Indians who were recruited has returned. Some of them, as I said, have perished, unfortunately. There is a mechanism we have for quite a hefty, substantial compensation for those, and relatives are receiving those money. But of course, it is no solace. What problem we have now is that some of the Indians who still is in the Russia, who are in the Russian army serving, not only in Ukraine, in other places, had acquired Russian citizenship. So they are Russian citizens of Indian origin. And some of these people approach the Indian government so that the Indian government helps them to return, although they are Russian citizens. We are now trying to find legal ways how to deal with this, because it complicates the situation. They cannot be just dismiss at the request of the Indian government from the military service, since there are very
Russian citizens.
there are very different provisions for the Russian citizens.
That's right. Okay. I think. Are you
Yeah.
saying something?
Yeah,
or should-
so, but we, you know, approach to these requests with full understanding, and we now we're in the process of finding a solution. I'm absolutely sure we will find a way out of this legal situation, but the it should not prevent, you know, so that we you know, have those Indians returned and not, you know, get killed.
Well, thank you very much. I think we can go on, but we should call it a night. Thank you very much. You've been so candid and so forthright. And I hope we see you again. So I will thank all of you. I will thank the Quorum Club, our partners, Vivek Narayan, the founder of Quorum Club. Vivek, where are you? Vivek, where are you? He stepped out. All right. All right. And Global PR Connect, our solitary sponsor for the evening. Thank you very much, all of you.
The Print Off the Cuff. Experience partner, The Quorum. Associate partner, Global PR Connect.